And so I give them full credit. I can see that my battery is getting ready to die here, so this won't be the longest of my periscopes. So let's see if I covered all of my topics. Oh, there's an interesting question about, can you reverse engineer the algorithms of the social media companies? In other words, could you look at the impact of all the things that they're doing, and just based on what you observe, could you work backwards to what the algorithm must be? My initial reaction to that is probably not. It's too complicated. But you could certainly do it on the simple cases. For example, this is just brainstorming. I don't know if this is a good idea. Suppose you had a bunch of citizens who met certain demographic criteria. So somebody was old, somebody was young, somebody was this ethnicity, this income, this gender. So you had a bunch of people who volunteer, and you have enough of them so that they fit every category. So once you have people who fit most of the categories, and let's say that they said, you can monitor my account and you'll see what I see. So you'd have some system that would look at these, let's say 100 representative people, and it would just monitor all their social media accounts. And then it would compare them to some kind of average or other people. Could you determine that, for example, this person who has these certain characteristics and clicked on these certain things is denied looking at some things that another person has? And I think you could. I think you might be able to get the big picture anyway. You wouldn't get all the nuance of the algorithm, but it seems to me that you would be able to determine what the algorithms are doing if you could have vision on all the people's experiences, but not all of them. You would need a representative sample with a little bit of each kind of person. So for example, if you had a typical Democrat on Twitter, and then you had a typical Republican on Twitter, couldn't you just look at their two feeds and see what's different? And then work backwards to what the algorithm might be? The answer is, I don't know, but you might be able to. It's an open question. Somebody will probably take a run at that. I'll bet some researcher will take a run at doing that. You have probably seen the so-called deep fakes. These are the CGI characters that look just like real people and that can actually even speak as if that real person were speaking. So now video can't be trusted anymore because you can make somebody look like a real person and you can't tell the difference. So much so that from a single photograph, you can create an entire 3D person. Just to show off, they did it with the Mona Lisa. So there's video, I just tweeted it. Jordan Peterson tweeted it earlier. And it just shows the Mona Lisa from one photograph of the Mona Lisa, or however they got the image, they turned it into a 3D walking, talking, expressive creature. Oh yeah. That's scary, isn't it? So I'm going to make an offer here that I don't know if anybody's thought of yet. So I want to be the first one to think it. When you do a deep fake of somebody like Zuckerberg, for example, or the Mona Lisa, there's probably some kind of a rights question, wouldn't you say? Some kind of rights are involved. But since I would like to be immortal, I would like to offer to the world complete copyright freedom to reproduce me. So if anybody wants to reproduce me with a deep fake and then feed it with all of my public statements, my public speaking, my ideas from my blogs, my Periscope, etc. So if there are any researchers who would like to have a legally safe real person to see if they could reproduce that real person, I volunteer. So I'm saying in public right now, if there are some CGI researchers who would like to create a deep fake Scott, I authorize that. So you're authorized to do it. And then you don't have to worry about somebody complaining. Now, I understand that this puts me at risk, that my deep fake will be saying things that I don't want the deep fake to say. So I get that. I'm accepting that risk because I can, right? I'm in that rare situation where I can accept that risk. But I'll just put it out there because people are going to be making deep fakes, and there are probably some universities who are wondering about the legality of it. There are going to be all these interesting lawsuits and stuff, but I'm going to say you can use me, a real person. You can use my real name. I would prefer that you label it so that people know it's a deep fake. So that's my preference. But I also live in the real world, and once things are released, they can take any form. So now I would also say that there's a second part of this that's kind of fun. Given that I've just given permission to use me as your deep fake in the future, you should not assume that anything you've ever seen me say from this day forward is necessarily true. So that's the trade-off. You should not assume that anything you see from somebody who looks and talks like me anytime in the future is necessarily true. So I realize that there will eventually be some deep fakes of me that say things I don't want them to say, but that's part of I accept that risk. So go ahead and do that. All right. So the long-term play here is that I want to be the first person who evolves from a carbon-based creature to a digital being. So I want to be first. So make me the first carbon-based person who dies in real life and is reborn as a digital creature. So let's make that happen. All right. And that's about all I have to talk about today. If you would like to see this in replay using the YouTube platform, just search for Real Coffee with Scott Adams. I have to tell you that I had a whole little studio set up here with a temporary setup of acoustic panels and everything. And just before I went live, they all fell down and knocked all of my equipment on the floor and messed up my office. So I will be continuing to experiment with improving the quality of these broadcasts. And that's what the monetization on YouTube does for me. So that's what we're doing, and I will talk to you later.